Copeland Super Bowl champion Dennis Brown, John Dickinson with you following a dreadful Niners 12-6 loss at the hands of the LA Rams, and that's going to all but do it for the Niners season. They fall to 6-8 on the year, 4-4 at home. Their lowest offensive output by yardage of the season at 191 total yards, had just 89 yards in the second half. It was a rough game for the 49ers, 108 in the first half, and that was all she wrote, really. Ike Guerrero, 16 carries, 57 yards. Brock, an awful game, 14-31, 142 and a pick. And really, two explosives in this one. One of them came on a 3rd and 20, where Ike Guerrero broke a 16-yard run to fall short of picking up the first down. The other one happened early in the game. George Kittle, a 33-yard completion on first down on their second drive of the game, and that was it. The Niners defense gave them enough to keep the offense in this one. I mean, more than enough to give the offense an opportunity. 0 red zone chances for the 49ers, and this is just sort of how the season's gone. We kept talking about, was anything transferable from that Bears game, boys? And as it turns out, absolutely not. Virtually none of it. They did not create pressure or enough of it on Matt Stafford, even though he was rocky and shaky early in the game. Didn't come through on a couple of interceptions, and for I don't know how many times we've seen Brock in the rain. It's definitely a thing. This guy struggles when the moisture's out there.
Yeah, and in the first half, I mean, I felt like the 49ers defense was kind of getting after Matthew Stafford. I mean, he looked a little shaky. Again, it's opportunities too, right? There were 2 possible interceptions in the first half of this football game that could have flipped this football game, but the 49ers offense just never got on track, right? It just seemed like they just never got on track. And in the second half, they didn't have many opportunities to do it, but when they were out there, you just didn't, the run game wasn't there. The pass game wasn't there. It just wasn't efficient offense like we're used to seeing. I mean, you got to give the Rams all the credit in the world, but it just didn't seem like this 49ers offense ever got on track.
Yeah, incredible. I mean, to think that the 49ers score 6 points. Yes, the weather is a factor. Brock Purdy, 14-31. They couldn't get the run game going. And I think the biggest offensive play of the game was the Deebo Samuel drop.
Without question, it's a touch. It would have been a touchdown. I think we all thought it would have been a touchdown. And if it's not, he's certainly inside the 5-yard line.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, that was the moment where you thought, man, for all of the discussion about Deebo wanting the rock more, and the rebuttal to that being, hey, you haven't exactly done the most with it when you have been targeted or it has been put in your hands. And then he gets that golden opportunity in a moment where the game was hanging by the balance. The defense was doing the job. And if you can just make one big explosive play, it might take the top off of the whole thing. And you might end up able to, whether it's eke it out or blow it open, whatever it is, the defense played well enough for the 49ers to win this game. If the offense had just done anything, and they could not do it, and that Deebo drop was kind of the final straw.
Yeah, and you could see the frustration, right? I mean, when he dropped it, he just kind of ran to the sidelines and dropped his helmet. But again, you get to play more after that. I mean, that was what, the second half?
Yeah, third quarter.
So, and then you have the throw by Brock Purdy, that interception. That, I mean, I don't know what happened.
It was double coverage there. He was sort of bracketed on both sides, and Brock way overthrew him over the top, and it was a nice interception. I mean, he had to go down and get it and sort of lay out for it towards the end zone, but it was a ball that Brock looked like he was kind of forcing all day. It looked like he kept trying to throw that deep ball. He had one to Deebo early in the game, had a couple. He tried to attempt one to Pearsall late in the game where he tried to force one. That one to Juwan, he really wanted to land deep down near the goal line or into the end zone, and just did not have enough touch on it. Overthrew him. And really, even if he did have touch on it, I'm not sure Juwan comes down with that. He's in between two defenders.
No, and there was one in the fourth quarter, he forced it to Pearsall, and Juwan was running on the other side wide open. Mm-hmm. Like if he had come back and looked the other way and hit Juwan, that would have been a big gain. So I think tonight was a night where we might need to have the discussion about the elements and all of that, but tonight was a night where it didn't look like Brock was always seeing it, what was open in the right pacing with the right tempo.
He had a play where he took a sack earlier in the game, maybe it was the second quarter, where they sort of converge on him and he sort of gets the pocket, kind of collapses a little bit. He turns the other way and he sort of jumped. Remember that? You saw that play, Dennis?
And I was sitting there thinking, why is he jumping?
We've seen him do that before to jump throw, but it almost looked like he was jumping to get vision, and that was sort of problematic, and then he had brought to the ground. It's also dangerous for a quarterback to be doing that back there in traffic, leaving his feet like that to be hit. Now, Deebo Samuel, certainly, you guys can tell me what you thought, excuse me, but it looked to me like they were trying to force the ball into his hands early in the game. Now, in the first quarter alone, Deebo had 2 carries, he had 3 targets, he had 2 catches. So 4 total touches in the first quarter. He had 13 total yards. He finishes the game with those 2 carries for 3 yards, so 1.5 yards on each carry. He also had 7 targets and just 3 catches for 16 yards. Ricky Petersall had 1 for 16 yards. So Debo in the game, 5 touches for a total of, what am I looking at here? 19 total yards for Debo. I mean, he's talking about how he's not struggling. He just needs the ball in his hands. The offense did struggle today, but even when he had the ball in his hands, he wasn't making anything happen.
And they were trying to get it to him.
Yeah. And you said it, that first couple series, it was all Debo, right? And it just nothing was happening. Then you have the drop. And it just speaks to the frustration of him, this team, and, everybody. It's just frustrating when a guy like Debo is struggling. He's been such a big part of this offense and such a big part of the success of this football team the last couple of years. To see him struggle, and then, like I said, you could see when he dropped that ball, he ran to the sidelines and took his helmet off. And you can just feel the frustration at that point.
What's interesting to me, too, here is when you look at the Niners' overall numbers as a team today, like if you told me some of the stats that the Rams finished with, without knowing what the score was and what the Niners did today, I would have thought for sure the Niners won this game and might have won it by a couple of scores. The Rams on third down, just 4 of 15. They had, 1 red zone opportunity? And they were 0 for 1. 3 red zone opportunities, 0 for 3 on the 3 red zone opportunities. They only put up 160 yards passing, 16 of 27 for Matt Stafford. However, the Niners were worse in all phases of the game. 3 of 12 on third down. They also allowed that 1 big 4th down pickup by the Rams, and that really sort of opened things up and kept that big play, the longest drive of the game, a 16-play drive or a 17-play drive for the Rams, resulting in a field goal. Yards per play on the day for the 49ers, just 3.6. And we'll get into some of the stat of the game here, sponsored by Poppy Bank, located throughout California. Poppy Bank is here to help you hit your financial goals. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. For me, it's what the Niners gave up on the ground. It wasn't a ton per carry, 3.7 a carry, but 108 yards on 29 total from Kyren Williams. And on the flip side, Niners carry it just 19 times for 63 yards, 57 of them come from Mike Garendo. It's 6 total yards outside of those 2 guys.
They couldn't run it, and Kyren Williams, kind of like the first game against, now they didn't have the red zone success that he had in the first game, but it was a lot of carries. The time of possession game won by the Rams, 35-25, basically. And even though the overall average wasn't great, they were running it enough, especially as the game went on. I thought they wore the 49ers down. I thought when Greenlaw was a little bit banged up and he went out, I thought that added to the Rams' ability to be able to just kind of, hey, we're going to force it. We're going to run it. We're going to throw the little screen to Nakua or to Cooper Kupp. I'm going to pick up 4 or 5 yards that way, make you tackle, and just, the dam never totally broke, but it broke enough to where the Rams could get into field goal range a couple of times, and that was the difference, Dennis.
Yeah, and we knew coming into this game that the run game was going to be tested, the run defense was going to be tested, and every team's going to do it until you can show that you can defend the run. Teams want to run the football, and then late in the game, you said it, the defense gets worn down. Now you got all the motions, all the different shifts. And linebackers are running around, the safety's trying to figure out what's going on, and then you just kind of dump the ball off. I mean, it's again, the 49ers didn't play very well, but the Rams had a really good game plan.
They did. Hey, tackle Kyren Williams a couple times, and then you know what? We'll hit Nakua. We're going to motion Nakua out. We're going to throw it to him, tackle him a couple times, and it just the pounding of it, even though the numbers weren't there, I did think took a toll, and you could see it because the Rams picked up everything they needed to pick up on that closeout drive that basically ended the game and left the Niners, 20 seconds having to go the length of the field.
That was about it. They kicked that final field goal and wipe it away. Niners' longest drive of the day, 9 plays for 34 yards. That started that was the first drive out of the half for them, and it resulted in a field goal. Their longest yardage drive was 2 different, matched it. Their second of the game went for 5 plays, 39 yards and a field goal, and again, 33 of those came on really one meaningful explosive in the game. It's tough to say the other one with Garendo when they were backed into their own territory at 3rd and 20, and they handed it to him. He goes for 16. It's an explosive by nature, sure, and by definition, but it wasn't something that helped the Niners out in any capacity, except that they didn't have as short of a field to kick off of. When it comes to what the Rams did game plan-wise, you're right, JD, because even early in the game, and by the way, the skies did open up. When the second half started, it was pretty clear, and it mostly held off to the end of the game, a little bit of a sprinkle, and as the Niners came back onto the field for that final drive, it started to rain a little bit harder than it had been. But to open the game, the Rams' opening drive, it would have been a 3-and-out, but they had a 10-yard penalty, 4 plays, -4 and a punt. Then they go 3 yards, 7 punt, 3 yards, 7 punt, 3 yards, 3 punt. Then they go 9 plays, 38 and a punt. They punted 4 times in the first quarter. They punted 5 times in the first half, and you went into the half tied at 3-3. I mean, you did nothing to take advantage. And Kyle said it, the defense played well enough to allow us to win. The special teams did not hurt them today. The offense, which last week I said I thought that was the most transferable thing, that what we saw in the run game, maybe not as explosive as what we, maybe not today, I thought we wouldn't see as something as explosive as we saw last week or had seen last week, but nothing going for the offense today, and as creative as they were last week, none of that was there today.
Yeah, never got started.
Yeah.
Never, not at all. And we see now, Brock Purdy was off. He was off today, even though you've got plenty of weapons on the football field. If your quarterback's off, everything's off. And in this team, again, the Rams had a great defensive game plan. Whatever it was, they did it. They shut down the run, and they shut down, the pass. So, you kick field goals. It's hard to win football games if you just kick field goals the entire day.
And here's the other part now.
Unless you're the Rams.
The Rams.
all the Rams was doing on 3 straight drives to end the game, and that was it. Yeah, well, that was it. Those were the 3 longest drives of the game. 17 for 65, 5 for 59, 13 for 69. They all result in field goals, and that's the ballgame.
Yeah, you cash in your threes, and that was good enough to.
And you think
win.
at the end of the game, if you could have got a touchdown, the game would have been over.
It's over.
Right?
Yeah.
Score a touchdown.
Just the Debo play, if that goes for a touchdown or sets up a touchdown, then you're talking about the defense coming up with big stops at the end of the game to hold on, and the field goals at that point are not good enough. The other part of this whole thing, and I know we're going to get into it, the 49ers are now a team that's 6-8 on the season, and they're not mathematically eliminated, but they're all but mathematically eliminated, less than a 1% chance.
The math ain't mathing for me, man.
Yeah, they're done. I mean, let's just call it what it is. They're done, barring a miracle. And now you have to worry about, okay, how do you finish the season strong? How do you finish the season connected? How do you finish the season with your locker room intact going into an offseason that's going to be pretty big? And there's some issues that have popped up in tonight's game related to that, which I think everybody's going to be reacting to, not only tonight, but in the next week here to come.
Well, we'll get into this momentarily, but that's pretty much what everybody's talking about here on the YouTube chat here as we're streaming twitch.tv/thesportsleader, KNBR.com, the KNBR app, as well as on our YouTube channel, which is where various sports fans can go to sound off instantly after a game like this and give us your thoughts there. And you can check in as well at 808-KNBR, 415-808-5627. Devondre Campbell, the off-ball linebacker there, who has been in there for the most part all season long, with the exception of when D. Winters plays, and who got beat badly in this game against the Rams on that last couple of drives back in week 3, which resulted in them coming down and kicking that Josh Carty field goal to beat the 49ers 27-24. He ended up walking off the field in the third quarter. It was after Dre Greenlaw. We'll talk more about him, too. After Greenlaw, I guess he'd had some soreness in his knee and in his Achilles, so they sat him down. They would have gone to Campbell to come into the game. Greg Silver and I were sitting in the press box, and I looked over. I go, "There's Devondre Campbell walking off," and Kruger looks. He goes, "Yeah, there's Campbell. What's going on?"
And he hadn't
had
played
his helmet,
a snap.
and he hadn't played a snap. So I thought this is kind of weird. What happened to him? We find out afterwards. Kyle Shanahan was asked at the podium, "What happened to Devondre Campbell? Didn't show up on the injury report." He said, "Told us he didn't want to play today." They said, "What do you mean he didn't want to play today?" He said, "Well, that's what he told him. We didn't ask him why." And I think it was Mike Silver said, "Well, was he going to play today? Was anybody going to go in the game?" And he said, "Yeah, we were going to put him in as soon as Dre Greenlaw got injured," and he said he did not want to go in. So they sent him to the locker room, and you're talking about keeping a locker room intact. I mean, I don't know if the Deebo Samuel thing permeates to the locker room at all. I mean, we're on the outside looking into that stuff, and you heard Richard Sherman say he didn't think it was that big of a deal, but the frustration has continued now, I think, for Deebo and the fans. First time after that drop, by the way, Dennis, fans booed Deebo as they came off the field, or were booing as the Niners came off the field on what would have been a go-ahead touchdown for the Niners at that position. So Campbell now saying he doesn't want to play in a game where the season is on the line. I mean, that's as bad as it gets, I think, for a locker room. So we'll have to talk more about this one as we pour over the Niners' 12-6 loss at the hands of the LA Rams. It was 3 field goal drives at the end of the game. Again, 1 drive of 65, 1 for 59, 1 for 69, and that was all she wrote. That and a Brock Purdy interception down near the end zone. Pair that with 0 red zone opportunities for the Niners, and this is an ugly one. It's a wet one, an ugly one, and one that I think we're all going to remember as a way the Niners season, not statistically or mathematically came to an end, but just about as close as you can come. I mean, there's no real opportunity here for them to make the playoffs at this juncture, and even if they won this game, it would have been a long shot. Adam Copeland, the Super Bowl champion, Dennis Brown, John Dickinson with you. You're listening to KNBR and KNBR FM San Francisco, the sports leader, a Cumulus media station. That's a legal ID, and we are live from Levi Stadium. 12-6 final. Niners season is in the can, just about. We'll talk about it next on the sports leader.
With Devondre opting to not go into the game, what do you need to do to ensure that you don't lose the rest of the locker room?
I haven't lost anybody. That's somebody who doesn't want to play football. It's pretty simple. I mean, I think our team and myself, we know how we feel about that, so I don't think we need to talk about him anymore.
Wow. There you go. There's Kyle Shanahan on Devondre Campbell. As somebody who doesn't want to play football, I think it's pretty cut and dry there, pretty simple. And we don't need to talk about him anymore. That's all but telling you where Devondre Campbell's future is with the 49ers, and I think everybody is content with that. Adam Copeland, Super Bowl champion Dennis Brown, John Dickinson with you. 49ers fall 12-6, and we find out after the game from Kyle Shanahan, Devondre Campbell walked off the field into the locker room. I'm going to go ahead and guess, probably for the last time as a 49er, he did so healthy today after Dre Greenlaw returned. And when asked about it after the game, Kyle Shanahan said he didn't want to play football. When asked, he said we didn't press him as to why. And I don't know that we totally believe that. I mean, somebody may have said something, but if somebody says that in this sport at that point, it's a professional team here. Your season's on the line. You got other guys out there who are going to battle. You got a guy out there with an Achilles who just came back for the first time since the Super Bowl last season. I mean, you were looking for Campbell to come out and help you. This guy's a veteran. It's what he was brought in here to do. And for him to walk off and not to want to play in this game, I think that everybody would be in agreement, and nobody would be surprised in thinking he may be cut by tomorrow.
I mean, everybody knew the situation, right? Dre Greenlaw was hurt. The hope was Dre Greenlaw would be able to come back at some point. That you have Fred Warner, an all-pro linebacker. You need a stopgap. You need a placeholder. So Devondre Campbell was signed to be that guy that's going to come in and hopefully play well, and then he's going to hand it over to Dre Greenlaw when Dre Greenlaw's ready. So then you get into this situation where, and let's be honest, Campbell's had a disappointing year. He's had a couple of good games toward the middle of the year lately. He was pretty awful for a good chunk of this season, and teams picked on him. The Rams did week 3. Other teams went right at him. Him and Yadam were two guys that for weeks, it was 59-22. Teams were going after over and over and over. And so now he gets to the point where, like, how could you not understand, hey, Dre Greenlaw's coming back, I might have to sit or I'm going to be a backup. So that you might
have to play when he comes out of the game in the third quarter because he's tweaked a little bit.
But yeah, and I think that's the big thing.
But how do you get to that point where you're so pissed off knowing that he's coming back and you're a backup now that you're like, yeah, when they ask me to go in the game, I'm done?
It's called pride, right? I mean, he's a vet. I mean, he's played many years in the National Football League. He probably said, listen, I've played for you. I've been out there. Dre Greenlaw comes back. He gets hurt. Now you want me to go back out there. I mean, it's a lot of pride, but I've never heard of a guy walk off the field. I mean, we've seen it with Brown and the Bucks when he took off his jersey, but that was a different situation. But I've never seen a player just tell a coach, I'm not going to play. So, I mean, it's not great for job security. So, he's a guy that came in this year. He's not part of the, you would say the 49er family, but he was a guy that they brought in that was going to, like you said, fill that gap. Disappointing season. Now, you talk about frustration. Now you let your pride get in the way. So it's not a very good look.
Dennis, if you're in that locker room and
he's gone now.
No, but I mean, if you're in that locker room and you find that out, you get back there and you find out, I mean, I don't know, we'll play some Charvarius Ward for you too, because I guess him at his locker was talking about that after the game. Devondre Campbell saying he didn't want to be there. And for a guy who's on that defense and is working as hard as he has and gone through the season and the year off the field that he's had to go through, I mean, these guys are out there. We're supposed to be a team of brothers. Are supposed to be battling together, and you go down when you're supposed to go down. You do it together. If it happens, you do it together. But for him to sort of pull the ripcord and get out of here, what's the reaction of the locker room? Does that bond guys together? What does it change?
No, I mean, I think Charvarius, he's going to say it. I mean, we've got the clip. I mean, you understand when you do something like that. I mean, you've pretty much decided that you're not going to play football anymore. And like I said, it's a lot of pride. I mean, it's a lot of ego. Professional athletes. And he feels that he was, at that point, you want me to go back in now. Dre Greenlaw comes back, he gets hurt, he gets tweaked. Now you want me to go back on the field. So it's a lot of pride. Unfortunately, it's a bad look, but it's a lot of pride.
Well, you know what Kyle felt when Kyle said, I don't think we need to talk about him anymore.
Yeah.
That's a guy who said he doesn't want to play football. That's about as cut and dry as Kyle will ever be.
And he's going back to wherever he came from now. I mean, he's not there right now. He's out the locker room. He's gone. He's made the decision. I didn't think he
was waiting around to talk to the media.
No, he's not saying goodbye to anybody. He's got to go home and explain to his family now. I've decided I don't want to work anymore.
No, he does. And you look at now this 49ers loss, so they're 6-8. They're all but eliminated. They get swept by the Rams, and now as players are trying to process that, they're getting asked about Devondre Campbell quitting on them.
Yeah, this should not be a story.
This should not be something that gets thrown onto their plate because he decides he's going to tap out. So that is unfortunate, and now something that has the potential to weigh heavy in a locker room where you've got a bunch of guys who are already disappointed about the outcome of this game and the way this season has played out.
Kyle Harr is back in the studios in San Francisco. Kyle, do we have the sound from Charvarius Ward yet? If they cut that up, here's what Charvarius Ward said at his locker after the game. He was asked about the Devondre Campbell situation.
I mean, he's a professional. He's been playing for a long time. I mean, if he didn't want to play, he shouldn't have dressed out. You know, he could have told him that before the game. So I feel like there was some subtle that he did. Definitely hurt the team because, you know, D went down. And we needed a linebacker, you know, and I think Flan was banged up too. So for him to do that, that's some subtle stuff to me, in my opinion. Like, it's probably going to get cut soon, so, you know, it is what it is with that.
That's some sucker stuff to me. He probably going to get cut soon. I mean, seriously, that's
cut and dry.
Some selfish.
I mean, it's cut and dry.
Yeah.
And that's a leader of the defense saying that. That's a veteran who's been out there for a long time. It was like, we needed this guy. He said Flan got hurt too. By the way, D. Winters went down with a neck injury early in the game as well. So
and Graham wasn't active.
They needed him. They genuinely needed him when Dre Greenlaw comes back. And I didn't anticipate Dre was going to play. I thought when he did play, he would play the way he did. I didn't know he was going to play as much and as long as he did. Then he comes out in the third quarter with some soreness in the Achilles. And we could talk more about how they operate with that going forward. You got 10 days off now before you see Miami, and, you know, he wants to be out there. But this is, again, more noise that is going to permeate, I think, through the next couple of days.
He was awesome in the first half. Yeah. Dre Greenlaw.
But do you sit him now? I mean,
I would. I mean, without a doubt, I would sit him.
I saw him on the sidelines. He was wearing some kind of brace. I mean, it was some kind of something was going on. It wasn't just like
he kept standing and trying to stretch his Achilles.
Yeah,
I saw
so, I mean,
he played great.
Yeah,
it's admirable as hell, the work that he put in to come back from, 10 months ago yesterday in Vegas. The season was still very much alive, I would say, by comparison leading into this game. He gave it all he had, whether it's fatigue or the makings of another injury or whatever. To me, he won by getting himself back on the field in 2024. There is no sense in risking anything in these last three games that puts Dre Greenlaw in a position where he can't contribute in 2025.
The difference maker of the game is sponsored by Benjamin Moore Paints. Experience the Benjamin Moore retail difference at our independently owned authorized retailers today or at benjaminmoore.com, and by Abundant Life Weight Loss. Call 925-594-7110 to start your journey today. I don't know if we can go to one player for the difference maker of the game. I'll go to a play, and it'll be the Deebo Samuel dropped potential touchdown. I mean, he's streaking right over the middle. Niners have a chance to take a lead there. Still did not have a red zone opportunity. They were just outside of it at that point, but you saw his frustration. You heard the fans' frustration, and Deebo saying this week, I'm not struggling. I just need the ball in my hands. They clearly tried to get the ball into his hands numerous times today. He had 5 touches in the first quarter and had a total of 12 yards or something like that. He finishes with fewer than 20 total yards from scrimmage. I think that drop potential touchdown is the difference maker in the game.
Yeah, and I think the Brock Purdy interception late in the football game. I mean, the Deebo was big, but that interception, as you're going in, possibly to take the lead in this football game, I think that was, I don't know what happened with the pattern, if Juwan was knocked off his pattern or what, but that was just a bad pick at the wrong time.
808 KNBR 415-808-5627 is the number to call. Let's go to Steve in San Francisco. He's been waiting a while. What's going on, Steve? You're on the Sports Leader.
Oh, boy. Same old stuff. Same old stuff. Look, I mean, we can talk about the rain. We can talk about the Purdy pick, which I agree with, but who's to say they're even going to score the touchdown there? They've been horrible in the red zone. The Deebo drop, before and above all of it, this team top to bottom has been just broken this whole season. But I do want to talk about Shanahan. He overtly force feeds the ball to Deebo, who has been putrid and obnoxious all this season. And for what? To placate whining and his fragile ego? What kind of message does that send? It's one thing if he's been a world beater. He's been terrible, not only to the team, but what does that say about your commitment to winning this game, considering that actively contributes to their loss when you've got other players that should be the focal point there? And you guys mentioned earlier that creativity and the dearth of it, where has it been? We saw it make a brief appearance last week against the Bears, and honestly, that's been it for me all season. Where's the pre-snap motion in this game when it's downpouring to help? Where's the deception? You have that huge play to Kittle for the pass, and then you have 3 straight Jimmy Ray runs into the dust that haven't worked all season? Like, are you serious? And yes, how do you help offset a horrible O-line, which, by the way, he has helped orchestrate by kind of actively ignoring it? Move Purdy around a little bit. Call a little more bootleg. Where have the screens been? Where has all of that been to try and help a team that has been struggling. And again, you can't discount the other things, but man, he has been really frustrating. And for someone who has done so much with so little in the past, with rosters like with Mullins, et cetera, they still have enough on this team that and another big moment, a crucial must-win game, and another loss from Kyle Shanahan.
I appreciate the call, Steve. Yeah, I the force-feeding Debo thing, to me, it plays a little bit into the hands of, like, when the Warriors would kind of try to check Klay and see, is this a night where Klay Thompson's going to go for 45 on a handful of shots? I do think they wanted to try to get him going in a game where they knew it was going to be rainy and they wanted to give him some carries. But to his point, to Steve's point, it hasn't been there all year. It feels more like giving a guy at bats over and over who's not putting wood on the ball.
To me, it was twofold. It was, one, you knew you needed Debo in this game.
Sure.
Two, he's ticked off, and so you think by going to Debo, you're going to get the best of Debo because he's going to be playing angry with something to prove to back up the things that he had said he was frustrated about. So I think those things work hand in hand in where you would want it. Like, you want to give him a shot. Okay, Debo, you're mad? You want the rock? We're going to get you the rock. We're going to get you the rock. Make plays. Carry us home as you've done in other years. And that's where the whole thing didn't work. I would just disagree with the notion that the 49ers have all these other playmakers that should be getting the ball right now. That's the one thing. Like, whether Debo has struggled or not struggled, we can get into it. Garendo tonight wasn't running it. That's fine. Pearsall's really been nowhere to be found. That's fine. Jennings has been tremendous.
And Brock didn't play a good game. Again, the rain is a bigger factor.
Who are you trying to get the ball to?
Yeah.
It's like Debo's still one of your guys.
I'd like to force Kittle. That'd be nice. I'd like to force him more to Kittle. But again, I don't know if that changes anything today. It was tough to move the ball. Both teams really played the same first half, I thought. And then when things settled down in the second half, the Rams executed 3 straight drives of over 50 yards and resulted in 3 field goals. And the Niners couldn't do the same. Adam Copeland, Super Bowl champ, Dennis Brown, John Dickinson. We're with you after the Niners fall 12-6 to the LA Rams, and they fall to 6-8 on the season. We'll get you more on how the D-line played today when we come on back here on The Sports Leader.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything, man. Like our season and our guys, trying to fight to get in this thing and fighting for each other, playing for each other, man. So, that's what comes with playing quarterback and being in this position. You're trusted with the ball in your hands and to make the right decisions in the right moment. And that's something, man, that I'm going to have to learn from for sure moving forward.
It's Brock Purdy on the 49ers loss today at the hands of the LA Rams, 12-6, the final. Adam Copeland, Super Bowl champ, Dennis Brown, John Dickinson with you, as well as Larry Krueger, who you hear on the Krug Show. See him on the Krug Show, and, of course, on Niners Nightly right here, 6 to 7 every night on The Sports Leader. Let's get you Protecting the Quarterback, sponsored by the COCO, the Contra Costa County Office of the Sheriff. Protect your community and apply for a new career in law enforcement at cocosheriff.org today, and by Planet Orange, effective, eco-friendly pest control. Why don't we get into how the Niners D-line played today? Again, Niners, their first 4 drives didn't allow the Rams to do anything. Rams punted 4 times in the first quarter. They punted, 5 times overall in the first half, I believe it was, maybe a bit more than that. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 first-half punts for the Rams. D-line, I thought, did a good job. They did not create tons of pressure. Stafford, early in the game, they did make him a bit uncomfortable. Never sacked him, though. Brock Purdy sacked 3 times. Stafford, 0 sacks after they picked up 7 last week. Larry, what's your evaluation of the D-line today?
Well, I think overall, what we've seen from the 49er defense is that it's 2 different defenses. It's a defense in the beginning of games, and then it's a defense in the second half and in the end of games. And they go dramatically downhill from the first quarter. First quarter is their best quarter, and they're worse in every quarter after that if you look at the stats throughout the year. So why is that? Is that because they don't make adjustments? Is that because – I think it's because they're just running out of bodies, to be completely honest. I think they start to fade in the second half, and I think we saw that in this game. They did a really nice job in the first half, but then in the second half, the Rams had 2 really, really long drives, and the Niner defense could not get off the field. They looked like they were gassed a little bit. They were tired, and it's not an excuse. It's just what happened, but it's happened all year. Really nice.
and just watching the game, it seems like especially in the second half, it just felt like all the different movement, the motions, the
bootlegs.
It looks like the communication, especially in the secondary, was a little off. Yeah. I mean, you had guys pointing, it just looked like that all the motions kind of messed up that defense. You get the same vibe?
Yeah, I mean, well, there was, not just in this game, but really for the last month, there's been many plays where there's a lot of jockeying around at the last second at the line of scrimmage and guys pointing, and I don't know if the communication's down or if most of the guys in this defense have been in this defense for a while. I think the defense. The defensive line did not have the kind of impact on Stafford as I thought they needed to affect him enough. They did a pretty good job against him. They hit him a couple times. I didn't see what the final sack and hit totals were, but I was thinking, to me, my key to the game was you have to hit Stafford a lot. In their wins this year, he had been sacked 6 times. In their losses, he'd been sacked 22 times.
Yeah, he didn't get sacked once tonight.
Yeah, so that's it right there. That is it right there. If he had felt the pressure, he doesn't make that bomb to Puka, and they probably don't have those long drives, and the 49ers probably win the game.
Let's talk about the offense, though, because we can talk about the defense, and they wore down as the game went on. The Rams had some easier possessions, but the Niners' offense is the story of this game for me. They did not get the job done. It was a bad Brock Purdy game. They couldn't run it. Debo wants the rock. We were just talking about it before you got here. They were almost forcing the ball to Debo Samuel early in the game. And the biggest non-play of the game for the 49ers was the Debo Samuel drop on a play that probably would have been a touchdown, and we might be talking about a completely different outcome. What do you see from the offense tonight? It's just too many. There have been too many games this year flat out where the offense, for all the talent that they have, has just not been able to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, it's just look at the targets and look at the receptions. Debo was targeted 7 times. He caught 3 balls. Pearsall was targeted 4 times. He caught 1 ball. JJ was targeted 9 times. He caught 2 balls. It's just a lot of incompletions there, and I thought they force-fed Debo early, and then he had the drop late. So. Debo said, I'm not struggling. I'm not getting the ball. Well, guess what? You got the ball tonight, and you struggled.
Well, and I said this before the game, Larry. If you look at his carries, like on the season, I think he's only a handful of carries off from the total number he had last year. Like he's gonna surpass, assuming he plays in the final 3 games, he's gonna surpass his number of carries from last season. And his targets, in terms of total targets on the year, are not that far off from where he was last year either. So it clearly is about execution and explosive nature. We had a caller a little while ago who said, they were able to get explosive plays together when they had like Nick Mullins thrown to George Kittle. Now, obviously, situation's a bit different. This team had higher expectations, but I also think today, and this has nothing to do with Debo's lack of explosive plays or lack of ability to do anything with the ball in his hands. I thought Brock played a really tough game. I mean, again, Brock in the rain, this is becoming a thing. Like, it's a full-on story, I think, now when it rains for Brock.
Well, and I don't know that the rain bothered him, that I could point to any one, or at least any play that I could remember. I just feel like Brock at times, Copes, has just gotten too aggressive. I love the aggressiveness. It's funny. People say
deep balls were tough today.
Yeah, I mean, he just there were. He could have taken the underneath and kept his offense on the field. His natural inclination is to be aggressive. It wasn't a great game from Brock Purdy, but to me, the Debo thing is interesting from the standpoint of, he's not really getting it done as a runner. So, I mean, he's about 2 yards a pop tonight, like 1.5 yards a pop. But it's interesting because as a kickoff return man with a head of steam, this guy looks really, really explosive. I mean, he looked fantastic on the kickoff returns. He just doesn't show that same explosiveness as a route runner and as a running back. So I'm not sure what the answer is.
Well, I mean, with the player, when you're struggling, you tend to think it too much, right? I mean, every time you have an opportunity, you kind of overthink it instead of just kind of going. I think that's what Debo's at. I mean, the pressure's on. He said it. I need the ball more. They give him the ball more. I mean, and he drops the ball, and you saw the frustration. He throws his helmet off because you kind of overthink it a little bit because now you're looking to make that big play instead of just kind of making it happen or just letting it happen. So I think he's overthinking it right now, and a lot of it's just frustration.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a great player. I mean, he's been a big part of this offense, big part of this, the last couple seasons. It's just that, he's overthinking it. He's not playing his game right now.
Yeah. I think there's a lot to that. And also, he's a competitor. He wants to win. I understand it's easy to point the finger tonight at Debo. He talked, he didn't deliver. He put his hands on Tabor Pepper. He called out the kicker. I mean, I get it. But I think deep down, if you're around this team on a regular basis, this man's heart's in the right place. This guy shows up not for the cash or the glory or for the podcast. He shows up for the W. And to me, I can respect anybody who does that. And to me, the bigger story in this game, and it's bothersome. I know the offense was not good enough. I mean, 6 points. I mean, Shanahan said it. They were really bad. But, I mean, Devondre Campbell quit on this team. In the same night where Dre Greenlaw would do anything in his power to get back on the football field, another one of the Niner linebackers just tapped out and said, I'm about me, not you. I'm going back to the locker room. Very selfish maneuver. If you do that at 2:00 in the afternoon, the Niners can promote somebody else to the roster. Yeah, but
Jalen Graham.
Yeah, Jalen Graham could have played. To do that, as soon as you're active, your brothers are counting on you. And you got to go out there and you got to play for them, not yourself. I don't know. To me, I asked Bosa, I said, is character going to be defined and kind of revealed here in the last month? And he's like, absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead, JD, unless you had something there.
No, I just think, just to your point quickly on Debo, the one thing I will say is, as maligned as he's become in the fan base, the guys in the locker room still love him. The guys in the locker room still feel like he's going to bat for
Debo,
them.
you're saying.
Debo, specifically. Yeah, no, not Devondre Campbell. Quite the opposite.
The guys have already started pulling the ripcord on Campbell.
In a big-time way. We played Mooney Ward, who basically said, you had the quote. It was
Mooney Ward said, that's some sucker stuff. He's probably going to get cut soon anyway.
Yeah, and George Kittle, I think, was as pissed off as I've ever seen George Kittle.
It seemed like he would have beat Devondre Campbell's ass if he'd heard him say it. He said, I wish he would have. We should have said, I just found that out. I wish I had known when that happened on the field.
And Kyle Shanahan also, I can't remember a time where just watching, and I was not down there, but watching the clip of Kyle as he explained what happened with Devondre Campbell, he looked as mad as I think I've seen him in a press conference at any point.
Yeah, this is a failure sport, right? You win some, you lose some. You make some plays, you don't make some plays. We can all live with success and we can all live with failure. What we can't live with is guys checking out and not being there for their teammates. So, if they cut him tomorrow, in my opinion, it would be 4 weeks too late.
Yeah, well, certainly 4 quarters too late based on what happened in this one. When something like this happens, and I know people are going to start immediately looking to Kyle. Kyle was already asked about it in the post-game presser. Do you worried about losing any more in the locker room? Blah, blah, blah. And Kyle says, I haven't lost anything. And based on what you're saying, even about Deebo Samuel and how that's gone and the people rallying around him, you're around this team, Larry.
Yeah.
You're in the locker room.
Yeah.
So are you, JD. Does this feel like it's a microcosm of something else, or does this feel like an isolated incident in your guys' experience?
It feels like an isolated incident, but that being said, this year has just been different. And I think all the losing and getting so close these last few years and not being able to get over the hump, I don't want to say it's caused guys to look at each other a little bit differently, but I just think there's a weight that comes with all of the tough L's that they've had to take to where it's just different. If that makes sense. Like, I can't pinpoint. I don't think he's lost the room or anything like that. And look, I think Devondre Campbell's a bad example. Like, Devondre Campbell's somebody that didn't play well most of the year when he got opportunities to play and then quit in the moment where a better alternative comes back after, a 10-month rehab to reclaim his spot as a guy who's been an all-pro, type player in this league. So I think that specifically, Copes, is an isolated incident.
Yeah.
But, man, it just
doesn't feel good in the terms of all this.
When you have a year like this on top of the years that they've had getting so close, they are going to have to do a big-time audit, I think, of everything in the offseason and really make sure they're picking the right guys who come back moving forward and where they need to maybe find some fresh blood.
Yeah, and when you're losing, you get evaluated. I mean, there's more evaluation for everybody. And as players, you understand that.
Well, you were telling me the story. You've said this on the air. There was the year you guys didn't make it.
Oh, yeah.
You thought,
it was
you guys would talk.
It was tight in the locker room.
Like, we're all getting cut.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And that's what professional football is, right? I mean, you're only paid, or you're judged by your last play. And if you have a bad season, everyone's being looked at. Everybody's even the superstars are being looked at. So that's what, a losing locker room, everyone's pointing. I mean, they'll never say it, but everyone's pointing fingers.
They're at least thinking it. Whether they're not whether they're actually pointing the fingers, there's a lot of bad vibes and bad thoughts in the room. I'll say this, and Dennis, you could probably speak to this. Every team has a culture, and I don't think this team's quitting on Shanahan at all. In fact, I don't sense any quit at all anywhere in the corner of that room. But Devondre Campbell isn't in their culture. He came from a different locker room culture. And this is what happens when you go into free agency and you stop drafting well. Is like you have to start now bringing in guys who were groomed in other teams' culture, and they may not be as wed to your process, to your room, to your guys. And maybe they're thinking about themselves a little bit. So I just think that anytime you go after veterans who have been in other situations, they're not going to be as tied to your culture as your young guys are. That's why I really believe that you build through the draft and when you go in free agency, you only go after high character guys in free agency. For that reason right there.
I know it's late in the season, but it is the NFL, and usually character is not the number one thing on competitive teams' list for when they're looking for it to fill a void. If he's cut tomorrow, is he signed before the end of the year?
No.
I'm of that belief, too. One of my buddies said, you cut him, he may sign with the Lions. I go, you think the Lions with that culture want to bring this guy after that into that locker room? There is no way in hell.
Is that supposed to scare us?
I was like, fine, go. I don't care.
Well, not with the way he played this. I mean, I can see if he was out there balling. I mean, if you watch any tape on him, I mean, teams went after him.
He's not Antonio Brown, no.
I mean, he was, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I think he was the most attacked player on the 49er defense this season.
Yeah, he looked real sluggish.
By opposing offensive coordinators.
Everybody.
It was him and it was Yadam early in the year. It was I said it earlier, it was 59 and 22.
And if you want to know that for sure, go watch the first Seattle game here when the first play of the game, they get him isolated on DK, and then what did Arizona do in the first play of that game or first series of that game? It's Kyler running right in Devondre Campbell's gap, and not only did he not bring him down, he didn't get a finger on him. So Devondre Campbell was a really good player 3 years ago. He's lost some lateral agility. He's always been kind of high cut, and he's replacing a great player, and our standards are really, really high for linebacker play here, and he didn't meet him.
Adam Copeland, Super Bowl champ, Dennis Brown, John Dickinson, Larry Krueger with you. Niners fall 12-6 to the LA Rams and all but bury the rest of their season here at 9-8, the best they can finish. They have a sliver of hope. It's less than 1%. Playoffs are out of reach, it seems like, at this point. Ted in Santa Clara, Javier in Vacaville, Bill in Sunnyvale, Tim in Lodi. We'll get to your calls at 808 KNBR. More to come next, only here on the Sports Leader.
Fred, are you surprised the level to play at for not having played in 10 months?
Not at all. I wish I could say that I was surprised, but this dude has always been a freak of nature in that aspect of just. I mean, even when he tore his Achilles, you get that atrophy in the calf, and I mean his calves always look the same, all the way through till now. So he's just one of those type of guys.
All right, Fred Warner talking about Dre Greenlaw returning. We're back here. 49ers lose to the Rams 12-6, the final. Super Bowl champion Dennis Brown, Adam Copeland, Larry Krueger. I'm John Dickinson here at Levi's Stadium.
That was a spectacular question. I don't know who asked that question, but man, the media here are sharp. I mean, these people are good.
How awesome. We were talking about, it must have been a Larry Krueger question.
Thank you.
How awesome was Dre Greenlaw in the first half? I mean, he was flying around. He looked like Dre Greenlaw. I mean, it was just, given the way he went out, it was just awesome to see.
He's an inspiring player. He really is. I joked him after the Pittsburgh game last year in week 1 when the Steelers were out of it in the fourth quarter, and he didn't come out of the game. He was in the game, and they kept completing passes in front of him. I'm like, I said to him on the next media day, I'm like, Dre, were you letting those guys complete passes in front of you just so you could, come rallying up and hit these guys? And he kind of gave me that look like, you know my secret. I love to hit. And he said it tonight in the presser. He's like, man, what did you miss the most? He's like, I love to hit guys. And that's what you want at linebacker, man. He is so good. And I hope he's the one guy. I'm not going to tell John Lynch how to do his job, but John, that's the one guy Niner fans want to see come back next year is Dre Greenlaw.
Well, and he's a free agent?
He's a free agent. Yep, he's an unrestricted free agent. And so we were having the discussion earlier, Krug, about, what do you do with him now in these final 3 games? I said, hey, to me, you don't play him. He came up a little bit sore in the second half. That led to the whole Devondre Campbell
He's going to be
situation.
fine, I think, is what we saw today. He'll be fine. I don't need more tape for other teams.
Yes.
I don't want him getting hurt again.
You see the talent is still there, I think. I mean, you can give us your evaluation of it, but to me, I would shut him down,
I'm
try
going
to
Tom
protect
Tolbert,
him.
shut it down, let's go home, dude, yeah.
And sign him.
I agree. He's a warrior. If you could clone him, you would. And if you could clone him, you'd be the Super Bowl champion. And I really believe if he didn't go down last year, they would have been the Super Bowl champions. So, woulda, coulda, shoulda. But he's a warrior, and you got to sign him. And I agree. I mean, if he wants to play and showcase himself one more time, I guess I would probably bow to that. But my wishes would be sit out and let's sign a deal.
Well, Larry, if you could clone him, you should probably be in a different business than pro football. You know what I mean? Probably working on something else, something bigger than that. Let's get you the injury report sponsored by Habas Law. They'll fight to make it right. Visit HabasLaw.com and by Mike Council Plumbing. When you need plumbing, Larry, go green with Mike Council Plumbing online at mcplumbing.com. Dre Greenlaw did show up on the injury report, left the game in the third quarter with a sore Achilles and a sore knee, and that's why we're saying you should maybe shut him down. I know D. Winters left the game with a neck injury early. Chair Brown left the game with a groin injury in the second half. Anything else I'm missing there?
Yeah, those are the big ones.
Oh, Devondre Campbell, the broken ego. I forgot about that. He's gone too.
Yeah. Yes, Devondre Campbell.
That's right. Cha-ching. Nailed that one. Adam Copeland, Super Bowl champ, Dennis Brown, John Dickinson, Larry Krueger. Larry, thanks for stopping by, man.
Absolutely. Good to see you guys.
Have a great night. Make sure you're listening to Larry on the Krug Show. I'm sure coming your way any moment now. He may be live the second he steps out of the studio, and then he'll be with you weeknight 6 to 7. especially tomorrow night, 6 to 7 on Niners Nightly right here on the Sports Leader. We still got more to come here. We'll get you the post-game interview. You will hear from head coach Kyle Shanahan, and you do want to hear what he has to say about Devondre Campbell, or what he didn't say about Devondre Campbell. Mooney Ward saying, yeah, he's probably going to get cut soon anyway. That's some sucker stuff. The post-game interview is next. Niners fall 12-6 at the hands of the LA Rams on the Sports Leader. Adam Copeland, Super Bowl champ Dennis Brown, John Dickinson with you. Niners fall 12-6 to the Rams. They fall to 6-8 on the season, 4-4 at home. Rams move to 8-6, and that's all going to but eliminate the 49ers. They are still mathematically alive, but only for a matter of days, it seems like, at this point. Let's go out to the phone lines at 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. Ted has been waiting a while in Santa Clara. Ted, you're down here in Santa Clara. How you doing, man? You're on the Sports Leader.
Hey, good, guys. Yeah, we were at the game tonight, my son and I, and kind of cold and rainy, kind of a symbolic of the Niners season, sort of, I think. And, we saw some of the same stuff. Obviously injuries hurt this season this year. A lot of the holdout guys had injuries, right? Yep. And fundamentals, right? 3 missed drop balls, 2 on defense right there in their hands. And then, of course, Debo, right? There's a whole nother thing where wide open, as you guys said, probably would have been a touchdown. And then even the locker room now seems to be a little bit up in heaval a little bit. And I don't know. You're talking about character and everything. I I don't really give a pass to Debo. You know, I'm wondering if Moody and the place kicker are, you know, talking to him after the game tonight, right? I'm just, you know, I don't think you do that if you're Debo. I know he's a star and he's going to get a pass, right? But I don't know. I think that leads. I think people just sloughed off that when he did that, and you know, it's showing down the line here. I guess karma or whatever you want to call it, but. You know, I don't know. That's my take. And I also, one other thing. You know, you could comment on that maybe on that. But one other thing was I was wondering if Purdy, was there any comment by him about that throw, right? It looked like it was almost double coverage unless I missed that.
Yeah, it was. He was like bracketed, but you're talking about the Jennings interception? The interception he threw to Jennings?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he was two guys on both sides of him. I haven't heard all of Purdy's postgame yet. I'm sure it was addressed and what he was looking for and what he saw there. But Larry was saying that, too. He's just been a little bit too aggressive at times, and maybe specifically tonight, a couple of deep balls that just didn't look like they had great shots.
Yeah, I know. So really just a microcosm of the season today. And probably good that, I mean, it's not good that they're not in the playoffs, I guess, ever. But I don't know if they were going to go anywhere anyway. But they got a lot of things. It just sucks to be so close last year, and you just, you know, you need intangibles and other things to come through to win it all, and they didn't do it, and now frustration's building up, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know where they're going to go next year, but anyway, I don't like to see that, even, you know, the Debo thing, right? If you're a real team player, you don't do that sort of thing, I don't think, ever. I know frustrations build up, but if you're a true character, you're a true team, and you're, you know, Campbell walked off, but I know that's an extreme, but everyone's got, you know, all on Campbell now tonight, which I get it, but it's this other stuff too that leads to cohesion in the locker room, and just like the Giants had when they won their championships. But anyway, that's my take.
Appreciate the call, Ted. Thanks so much, man. Yeah, I mean, this whole thing has just been frustrating, and as we talk about the Devondre Campbell thing, just one more piece of crap on the top of a not so great crap sandwich season. Adam Copeland, JD, and Dennis Brown with you. Kyle Shanahan met with the media after the game, and we'll make that our post-game interview, sponsored by the Handlery Hotel Union Square, San Francisco's oldest family-owned hotel. He talks about a lot of things in this one, specifically the offense, and maybe more specifically, Devondre Campbell leaving the field after saying he did not want to play today. Here's Kyle Shanahan.
All right, guys, injuries from the game. D. Winters had the neck, didn't return. Jair Brown, groin, didn't return. And Greenlaw, just with his Achilles and knee, just fatigue a little bit and soreness, so he didn't return.
How would you describe the offensive struggles from the game tonight?
Not good enough. You know, I thought we played good enough to win, obviously on defense and special teams, but we just definitely didn't play good enough on offense. I thought the main thing, didn't get the run game going, which was huge. I thought that was the difference in the two offenses. They got the run game going better than we did, and we had a couple opportunities there in the pass game that, you know, I think could have led to 14 points, and didn't have a lot of them, but we had definitely had a couple and didn't make those, and that's what it led to.
Is that more of a lack of execution, in your opinion, on the Niners side, or phenomenal defense on the LA Rams side, in your opinion?
I mean, I always give credit to them. I thought they played well. I thought, you know, we struggled blocking them in the run game, but I definitely thought we left a lot out there also.
Two plays that could have been big. Obviously, the one to Debo over the middle. He's a guy who said that he needs more opportunities. What do you think when you see that happen? He drops that pass.
I mean, yeah, that was a big one. Third down, and, you know, with Debo's skill set, I would have been shocked if he didn't score on the play. So, you know, I mean, everyone knows the answer to that. Debo, too, he needs to catch that ball. And then we were just off on that post down the field to Ricky right there, 2 plays before the interception. That could have been a big one, too.
With Greenlaw, Kyle, it did look like he came out with leg issues. Is there a concern that he tore the Achilles again, or
no? He, I mean, he was unbelievable tonight. And I think we took him off. I'm not exactly sure, but I think we took him off the first 2 series to start the third quarter. I believe he went in 2 plays and just couldn't get it going again, and felt a little tightness and stuff. So we had to be safe with him.
What happened with Devondre Campbell? He didn't play, and he went into the locker room at some point.
Yeah, he said he didn't want to play today.
Play today?
Yep.
The coaching staff?
He did when I asked him why he didn't want to go in. So.
During the game or before?
No, that was in the third quarter.
What happened on the interception? What did you see on that play?
I saw them bailing. The guy squatted a little bit, and then when Juwan went on his exit angle, they bumped him a little bit, slowed him down, and could never catch back up with him, and the bailing corner got it.
Do you think the weather affected the passing game and Brock in particular?
I mean, I think it affected both quarterbacks a little bit, but I mean, it wasn't just because of the weather.
How do you think he played?
I mean, I don't think our offense did very good, obviously. I think Brock made some good plays, missed a couple plays, but no one on offense did good enough.
Has that ever happened to you where a player said they didn't want to play in a game?
No.
He got demoted for this game, right? I mean, he was not going to play.
No, he was gonna go in when Dre came out.
What was the difference in the defense in the second? You guys' defense is pretty much dominant in the first half. Second half, Rams do anything differently? Did you guys get tired at all, or what do you think changed in the second half?
No, I thought they converted a couple big plays, especially getting that chunk play to Puka on the post. You get a couple chunk plays, and that usually leads to field goals. I thought they ran the ball. They ran the ball pretty good, but I still thought defense keeping them out of the end zone and everything, and holding them 0 for 3 there in the red zone still gave us every opportunity to win. But we need to score a couple touchdowns when we had the opportunity, and we didn't.
If Drew could see what was that long pass, was Charvarius expecting help, or?
Yeah, it was a zone dog, so we do have a middle third player, but they ran something where that moved him to the left, and Puka ran a good route and made a hell of a play.
Well, on Sunday you said that everyone said that you needed to pretty much win out, and that every game was a playoff game. What did you just say to the team now?
I mean, they say mathematically we still have a chance. Not too concerned with that right now. I'm pretty disappointed with how we played tonight, especially offensively. I thought our guys were ready to play. I thought the guys played hard. We just didn't play good enough on offense. We're going to get away for 3 days and come back. And I know mathematically I still believe we have a chance, but I want to come back and play better football and challenge the character of our team.
Will you release Devondre Campbell?
We'll figure out something, but I don't know that right now.
Did he give you any reason why he didn't want to play today?
No.
Campbell, to hear players say, I don't want to play today, does that create dissension, especially knowing that at this point in the season, with the type of season that this has started out to be, you kind of need as much camaraderie as possible to be successful? Does that create dissension amongst the team, or did it not really affect anyone? Did no one really notice?
People notice, but when someone says that you move on. You don't deal with that anymore.
First play was to Debo. It was targeted 7 times. Was there intent to get the ball to Debo? I know there always is, but even more in this game?
No, same as usual. I mean, that could have gone to 3 different people. Depends on the coverages and stuff. And they walled the inside slant. It goes to the outside slant. And thought Kel made a good play on it.
They played a fair amount of press man, it seemed like. Why do you think that's been a challenge, for the offense to beat this season?
I mean, I don't think they did a ton. They mixed it up. They were mixing up zone and man, which is what they do every week. So I don't think we got more of it than what they usually do. So sometimes we did it, but not enough.
With Devondre opting to not go into the game, what do you need to do to ensure that you don't lose the rest of the locker room?
I haven't lost anybody. That's somebody who doesn't want to play football. It's pretty simple. I mean, I think our team and myself, we know how we feel about that, so I don't think we need to talk about him anymore.
The interception Brock threw, what was your evaluation of the decision there? Obviously the outcome was what it was, but what was his read-through on that point?
Sorry, we said it again?
Interception Brock threw.
Yeah, we were hoping for man coverage. It was single safety, and you can't tell whether it's off man or bump. So the guy stuttered. Juwan ran a stutter go, and the guy buckled his feet a little bit, and so Brock threw it up and tried to give Juwan a chance. And as Juwan was exiting, he ran into him a little bit, which slowed Juwan down. And then there was only the corner there, so it's an unfortunate play.
Early on, Purdy had a few passes that were, in the first half, you guys were playing well, but he had a few passes that were overthrown, some that were underthrown. Do you think that was more of a weather thing, or just Purdy just struggled today?
I think a little bit of both. I mean, I think you saw the other quarterback on the other side go through the exact same things in the first half. So I thought Brock made some really good throws in the first half too. So, from a throwing standpoint, I thought, in those circumstances, I thought we were throwing the ball better in the first half than we were running the ball. I know we got that explosive to Kittle. I think we had a third down to Juwan, I believe, and a couple drops in there too. So, I think it was a little bit of everybody.
In the last 5 games, I think Debo had like 120 total yards, just a stretch of his career. Can you put your finger on just why he wasn't effective here in this last stretch?
No. I mean, he would have improved those stats catching that one ball. But stats are stats, and he had a hell of a kickoff return there at the end, gave us a chance at a Hail Mary, but no, I'm not explaining stats.
With the linebacker core, you were down winners. Obviously, no Campbell, no Greenlaw. Flanagan Fowles played a lot. It looked like he cramped up even at some point. It needed a lot out of him today.
Yeah, I mean, with Dre going down and one linebacker quitting, and then losing D with his neck, put more on Flan, and I thought he stepped up and played well. And, always when I see the tape, I'll know for sure. But I thought everyone on defense played very well today. It's a really good offense with some good players, and they kept him out of the end zone all day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seemed to come out for at least one play. Was that his ankle acting up on him?
I don't remember. They didn't tell me on it because I think he went back in the next play, so I'm not sure what. He got dinged or something there on that play, but he was in the next play, so he was fine.
That's good.
All right, thanks, guys.
Adam Copeland, Super Bowl champ. Dennis Brown, John Dickinson with you here at Levi Stadium, where the Niners fall 12-6 to the Rams, fall to 6-8 on the season. It has not been a year the Niners were looking to have following a Super Bowl appearance and the Offensive Player of the Year last year, one of the best teams in all of football, the best team in the NFC. And they are now 6-8, and we'll have to go back to the drawing board this offseason. 808 KNBR, Javier in Vacaville has been waiting for a while. Let's go to Javier. Javier, I appreciate you waiting on the line, man. What's going on? You're on KNBR.
How you gentlemen doing? First thing, I got 2 points, and I hope, defensively and then offensively, I hope people understand that even at Dre Greenlaw's worst and at Devondre Campbell's best, he still cannot attest to Campbell his play contrary to what, Greenlaw does at his absolute,
if he was at his worst, yeah.
And,
I hear you.
And I hope we understand at his worst performance, we understand that as a, flagship station of the 49ers, we never speak of Dre Greenlaw in the same sentence as Devondre Campbell, because Devondre Campbell, straight up, fellas, is a female dog, and I hope we never speak about him after this, game is now
waiting
over
for 50 minutes, man. I got to let you go now. See, we can't be doing that. I know we can't. I was with you until speaking about it in the same sense. I'm like, that far. Can't do that. Can't be calling him a B. I mean, I know you said it without saying it, but I do have a job to do. You know what I mean? We are sitting here at Levi Stadium still. So I do have to cut you there, Javier. I appreciate the call, man. Let's get you the player of the game, sponsored by Bigelow Tea. Grab a mug and tea proudly. I did like what Charvarius Ward said. That's some sucker stuff. That was good enough for me. Him calling
Line
him
of the
sucker
night.
and then saying he probably going to get cut soon anyway. So that's about as hard and as cutthroat as you can go. Once Charvarius Ward said it, I think we're good.
And it's cut and dry.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in the NFL and you refuse to go in the football game, everyone, it as a player, and all the guys around you know it, that's it. I mean, you cannot go into a football game, especially when you're under contract. It's really not a choice. There's a choice, but if you make that choice that I'm not going to play in a football game, you pretty much go and get a plane ticket and head out of here because it's a done deal.
Well, you may already be on that plane. You got a player of the game for me, JD? I mean, it's tough in a game like this. You going anywhere?
No, I was just going to add to what Mooney Ward said in the locker room when you think of it in the context of everything that he's been through specifically and like working his way to come back.
Think about what they've had go on, what he had go on off the field this year, and he's out there working with this team who's got a thin shot at a playoff berth, and he's saying, would have been nice to know that before the game we could address somebody else. If he didn't want to play, he didn't want to be a part of this, but to wait until that moment when he was needed and then say, this isn't what I want to do. I mean, his career may have been at the back end anyway. This may have been it for him when it came to his final season, potentially for Devondre Campbell. He's made his money, but what Larry Krueger was saying earlier about having culture guys in the building, he wasn't a part of that team that lost the Super Bowl. He hasn't been here to build what they've had to build over the last 2 years where they fell short in Philadelphia due to an injury they felt like, and they fell short in the Super Bowl last year to come that close and then to add a veteran who you think is going to be a leader for you and fill a void for you while didn't play well at all. The one thing you can't do is quit on the team, which is what Devondre Campbell did today.
And if you're asking me for a pick, I'd go Dre Greenlaw for the first half.
So would I. I'm going to go. He had a hell of a game. Felt like on the first play of the game, he laid a hit on Kyron Williams coming up the middle that stopped that run. And it was like, oh, boy, Dre Greenlaw's back. He had a couple of plays like that. That's where I'm going to go to.
Had him unofficially with 10 tackles, and then I guess it officially bumped down to 8. So maybe they gave him, or they took him off a couple of assisted tackles or whatever it was. But he ended up with 8 tackles all in the first half, and he was just flying around looking like
and he was the time when he was in the game, it looked like the old Dre Greenlaw.
Yeah,
and fatigue. Shanahan said, but it looks like something. There was another little tweak there. I mean, he hasn't been on the football field.
For guys who have been out for a period of time at all this year,
he was
Dennis,
getting after it.
You can go Hufanga, you can go Trent Williams, you can go Brandon Ayuk, you can go Christian McCaffrey. Even he's looked as much like his form, even in a half, as anybody who's come back off of injury this year.
Yeah, and at what loss now? I mean, he tweaks something. I don't know. We've been talking about do you rest him? I'm sure he still wants to play, right? But now you have to have that conversation. And you're one linebacker down. You have to have that conversation. Is he going to play these last 3 games, or you just rest it up right now?
Adam Copeland, Super Bowl champ, Dennis Brown, John Dickinson with you. We'll get you the drive of the game coming your way. We'll be with you for about 10 more minutes till 10:15 or so as the Niners fall to the Rams here at Levi Stadium, 12-6 on the Sports Leader.
not disbelief or disconnection like as a team. That is one person who just decided not to, play for his teammates. And I don't think that doesn't make our offense look at each other and be like, wow, man, we're falling apart. It's more of a, or like the defense, hey, we're falling apart. It's more of a one person making like Mooney said, a selfish decision, and I'm with Mooney on that. And I've never been around anybody that's ever done that, and I hope I'm never around anybody that does that again.
Wow. One of the most positive and determined voices and one of the biggest vocal leaders of the 49ers offense, if not the biggest vocal leader on the team. There he is, George Kittle, talking about Devondre Campbell leaving. Don't like being around somebody like that. Haven't been around someone like that and hope I never am again. Adam Copeland, JD, Dennis Brown with you from Levi Stadium. Niners fall 12-6 to the LA Rams, and I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate that's a lot of what we're talking about today is Devondre Campbell walking off the field today saying he did not want to play football. Let's get to the drive of the game, sponsored by El Cerrito Honda. More than just a car dealership, we are family. The drive of the game, I mean, for the 49ers, I guess you could say we made it sort of the difference maker of the game. Deebo Samuel dropping what could have been a touchdown pass as he streaked across the front of the end zone there. I would probably line it up a little bit differently. I think I would say the drive of the game, for me, the one that cost the 49ers, and I know, Dennis, you mentioned the interception earlier. It was the one that sort of iced the game for the Rams. They came down at a 59-yard drive, field goal there near the end of the game. That was their second to last field goal. That put them up 9-6. Then, of course, the one that put them up 12-6 and really no time left for the 49ers to do anything. We could make both of those the drives of the game because Niners could not get a stop after the Rams were 4 for 12 or something on third down today, did not move the ball well in the first half at all. The defense gave the offense opportunities, and they could not even reach the red zone for a chance today. So not only are the Niners not good in the red zone, they weren't very good at getting to the red zone. No opportunities, even though the Rams 0 for 3 in their red zone chances.
Yeah, and I still think, the Deebo was huge, but I still think that interception, and I still don't understand that. We talk about Brock, he's getting a little more, a little more confidence. He's taking some chances. He's throwing the ball deep, but at that point in the football game, you still had an opportunity to take the lead. And I don't know what he saw. It was double coverage. He was Jawan Jennings was bracketed. And then it looks like a punt almost. And it was a great play by the defense, but it was just a bad time. And then, defense, you can't get off the field. And then that's it. You get the ball back with 10 seconds, 20 seconds left. And you can't even do the Hail Mary. Brock Purdy misses the first pass, and then he gets sacked, to end the football game. So those two series are just really bad.
Has anything changed for you guys? Again, every game Brock Purdy plays gets thrown into the offseason and the extension and the possible money he gets versus who else is going to be out there. I think I know the answer because I ask it every week when he doesn't play well, but I'm going to ask it again because I think it's going to be a conversation, maybe the number one offseason conversation surrounding the 49ers, given this team having a down year, and you look at whether it's the elements tonight or the numbers or both, where are you at as far as Brock Purdy?
I can't imagine they're not going to pay him this offseason. I know people are going to ask that. 3 of the last 4 games, or I guess 2 of his last 3, he didn't play in Green Bay. No, it was in Buffalo he didn't play. He played, am I right? Green Bay before Buffalo. Then the snow game in Buffalo where he threw for fewer than 100 yards. I mean, the whole game was a tough one there. It's tough to look at that number or that game and say this is a product of Brock Purdy's inability to move the football. The same as I would look at Green Bay and say it's not all on Brandon Allen. They lost that game. There's a lot of problems with this team. What I would say, again, whether you like it or not, 49er fans, look at all the players they've drafted. If they've come up with the ability to get a big contract or a max contract, they've paid every one of their players that they've drafted. Fred Warner, they gave Mike McGlinchey a contract at one point. Nick Bosa, a guy they've paid. Christian McCaffrey, of course, they've given him more, but they traded for him, big part of this thing. Brandon Ayuk, they've now paid. Deebo Samuel, they've paid. They don't want to go into this offseason or next offseason with a holdout for Brock Purdy. People can say, well, they can franchise tag him, all that. Yes, there are other things they can do. I think we'd all be shocked if that's the route that they went. Adam Copeland, Dennis Brown, John Dickinson with you. We'll wrap things up, and we'll say goodbye when we come on back. Niners fall to the Rams 12-6 on the Sports Leader.
Fred. He's one of them guys that, you know, he's just been there with me throughout every step of my career. So he knows how much I want to be out there. He knows how much it meant to me. I know how bad he wanted me out there too. So anytime we can suit up and go out there and play, I mean, that's what we want. That's what we love.
That's the voice of Dre Greenlaw. That's a little positivity there for you after what happened with Devondre Campbell leaving today, saying he did not want to play football anymore. Adam Copeland, Dennis Brown, John Dickinson with you. We're wrapping things up here as we're ready to sign off. Niners fall 12-6 to the LA Rams that have all but eliminated themselves or been eliminated from playoff contention. Still mathematically involved, but I don't see much hope there for the 49ers. They need a whole lot of help. They still have to win out. And again, nothing you saw today leads you to believe this is a team capable of any kind of run like that. Plus, again, just far too much help they'd need for the stars to align. And I think we're all kind of resigned to that fate. 12-6 the final, the lowest output offensively, yardage-wise of the season, 191 for the 49ers. And I'm sure we'll talk about this one all day tomorrow. Make sure you're tuned in. 6 a.m. Murph and Marcus get you going tomorrow on KNBR, followed by Greg and Greg from 10 to 2. And then we'll have Dirty Work, myself, and D-Pop, Derek Papa, with you from 2 to 6 in the afternoon, followed by Larry Kruger with Niners Nightly and some Sports Phone KNBR tomorrow night. So make sure you stay tuned for all of that, all your 49er news on your home of 49er football for the last 20 seasons right here on KNBR. Thanks to Kyle and Kyle back in the studio today, and to everybody else who's helping back in San Francisco. Thanks to Tim for his work today, for JD, and for the Super Bowl champion Dennis Brown. I'm Adam Copeland signing off here where the sports continue on KNBR, where the Niners have fallen to the LA Rams 12-6 on the Sports Leader.